Hello, hello, hello. Today I wanted to talk about a topic that came up to me fairly early in my practice, and I wanted to address it and explain the way I dealt with it, in case it may come up for you as well if you go to a meditation retreat, which seems to be the topic of this channel. And that's the question of two ways of doing practice, two ways of Zen. I'm not talking about Zen, but I'm talking about my relationship with my practice of Zen. And hopefully that will clarify a few things. And the topic is there are two paths of really practice. One is the Rinzai Zen of the traditional way of go, 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 nearly kill yourself, practice day and night, give up everything else. And there is another one that sort of seems that way, though it's not entirely true. It's the Soto way of just, what, even if you do a little bit at a time is okay, kind of take it easy. Suzuki Roshi talks in his book, Beginner's Mind, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, I believe it's called. He says, look, you don't need to run to the forest and meditate. Even if you do meditation once a week, that should be enough. So we get the idea of there being two paths, and it's hard to really navigate through it. Do I really give all myself to it, stay up all night, practice to reach enlightenment, or do I just take it easy, take a break whenever I want? The way sort of the Suzuki Roshi sort of lays out, at least that's what seems that way. And the truth of the matter is they're both the same thing. They're basically two faces of the same, two sides of the same coin. I remember at the beginning, I would get frustrated with myself if I didn't really push myself all the way into my practice. And I would sort of feel guilty and question myself, my motivation, my practice, and my self-esteem would just really go down, really, because I thought I wasn't enough and I wasn't doing enough. But really, when it comes down to, and this is my answer, is there is one right way. There is one right way that you will succeed. There is one right way that you will progress. There is one right way that will reach happiness and contentment in your practice, which you need to go the long way. And which one is it? Well, that's the one that works for you. Like anything else in life, it's a very, very simplicity wins at the end of the day. If you come from a good family, if you have had good upbringing, if you have a lot of positive reference points, the first way of going all the way and being sort of almost aggressive about it, I don't know if aggression is the right word, usually helps. For some people, it works. I was recently reading Three Pillars of Zen by Roshi Kapleau, which is a great book, but also can be misleading and really messed up with my practice. And that's why I want to address it today. Because it explains the traditional Zen practice of you going to the monastery to basically die. You're not to die, but to spend the rest of your life there. You cut off everything else and you go. And that works. For some people, it works. But if you have sort of trauma from your childhood, if you have maybe low self-esteem, something I had, if you question yourself, if you come from a bad place, which is normal for many Zen practitioners and meditation practitioners, then it is difficult to go the route of push, 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 right? Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe that you can reach enlightenment, the more you push, the more resistance you will have. And I'm not talking about a natural resistance that comes up. I'm talking about a pushback, and that was for me. So the best way to deal with it is whatever works for you. If you go the quote unquote aggressive way and push, push, push and cut everything off, and that works for you, well, that's the path for you. On the other hand, if you go the slow way, a little bit at a time, you incorporate the felt sense, which I always do in my practice, which I talked about a number of times. If you need time off to deal with stuff that comes up, which I do, then that's the right way for you. There's no right or wrong way. Whatever brings you further is the right way. Um, and the biggest problem is when we think the other way is the better way, when we think the grass is greener on the other side, as the saying goes. The grass is never green at the other side. There are so many horror stories from monasteries. There are so many people that try to push and doesn't work. They have problems. They get kicked out. I know about someone who took their own lives. Nobody that I knew, but I heard about somebody at the monastery. These are just terrible things. Why? Because it doesn't work for everybody. For a lot of us that have trauma, for a lot of us that have had a maybe difficult upbringing, it's necessary to take the time. It's necessary to go with what you can at any given time. It is like saving money. Whatever you can save is good, you know. Whatever resources you have with, in terms of practice, in terms of time, in terms of work or whatever, then we work with whatever we have. And for me, whatever success I've had in life is by basically making it a habit. So recently I lost a lot of weight, and I am not somebody who can set goals. When I get to set goals, it doesn't work for me somehow. I just set a routine. So when I wanted to lose weight, I just ate healthy and I went to the gym and whenever I could, and I just watch what I ate, and that works for me. Other people, they have a goal to reach and they can do it. I cannot do it. And that goes with my meditation. I cannot say, oh, I'm going to reach enlightenment today and I'm going to be focusing on it all the time. No, I can't. All I do is set up a habit a little bit at a time. I get up early, meditate, have my coffee, journaling, all that good stuff. And in the evening, whenever I have time, I do it as well. And my methodology of pursuing my practice is just to build momentum. So when I have time off work, I do more. If I'm working, I do walking meditation at work whenever I can. So you have to see what works for you. And what works for me is having a routine and not even thinking about it. Not even think about it. I'm not going to think about how much weight I'm going to lose, for example. I'm not going to think about when I'm going to lose that weight. I just make a habit of going to the gym every day and eating healthy food. That works for me. The same with my practice. I don't think about the future or past or anything. I just set a routine of every morning meditating for a certain time. And I really, really stick with it. And if I can't do it for a reason, resistance, I just journal about resistance and practice the felt sense. Why is there a resistance? And the resistance is there for a good reason. Resistance is good because resistance is bringing up things from your subconscious to deal with. And again, the problem arises when we think that one way is better than others. And to add to that, they're basically the same thing, because as we progress in our practice, as we change as human beings, our personality changes. The things that we're stuck with are removed, are healed. Then our practice may change. For the longest time, I didn't do yasa, which is late night sitting, which is practiced after your daily schedule is done at the retreat, which is very intense. You're expected to do yasa, which is late sitting. And for the longest time, I didn't do it. For some people, it works. Some people stay up and meditate and do these things. For other people, it just doesn't work out. So somebody has arrived, so I have to cut it short. But basically, you have to see what works for you. Just be mindful of what works for you. For the longest time, I didn't do late night sitting. I would just go to bed right away, unlike other people. I would get up at the same time as other people. I wouldn't get up early. But I would use the time between the sittings, the breaks, and I would sit almost all the time. And then after a year or so, after a couple of months, I realized that I like sitting up and meditating. So I went back to the traditional way of doing yasa. I would stay up late for a couple of hours and meditate. So do what works for you, and that's the right way. Don't think about what the next person next to you is doing or what other people are doing. Do what works for you. And as always, work with a teacher. My teacher always told me, just take it easy, just go with what you have, forget about that book that you read. because that can be a problem. Anyways, I have to go. I hope this was helpful and talk to you next time.